All right, let's just jump right into it. Today, we're dissecting a genuinely chilling explainer based directly on recent folklore, and we're going to analyze a terrifying sequence of events that happened on a desolate stretch of National Highway 43. I really want you to picture the scene with me. It is a freezing December night, the fog is unbelievably thick, and the isolation is just absolute. We are going to break down the anatomy of a haunting, literally step by step, so we can understand exactly how supernatural folklore constructs the perfect psychological trap.
So, have you ever been driving down a pitch-black road, and suddenly you get that weird sinking feeling that you've just passed the exact same spot before? Keep that deeply relatable anxiety in mind, because that is exactly the psychological hook this narrative uses to pull us in. Our guy here is Aryan. He's a delivery driver just trying to finish up his shift. He's been forced onto this completely lonely mountain road because of a last-minute, urgent parcel. And his only company? A little laughing Buddha on his dashboard, shaking violently with every single pothole. Honestly, it's almost as if it's mocking his helplessness out there in the dark.
But before we follow Aryan any further down this road, we really need to understand what we're actually dealing with here. A chakwa. In regional folklore, a chakwa is a supernatural illusion or an entity that traps its victim in an endless, totally disorienting loop of space and time. So the absolute crucial point to remember here is that this isn't some monster chasing you through the woods. Actually, scratch that, it's way worse. It's an entity that turns the environment itself into a weapon. We're going to use this concept as our framework to dissect Aryan's terrifying descent into the paranormal.
Look at how methodically the conditions for Aryan's isolation are set up. It's 8 p.m. on a freezing December night. The fog is so dense it looks like a giant moving serpent under his yellow headlights. His phone? It's been flashing no service for the last 10 kilometers. Even the car radio is completely dead, just spitting out this harsh, grating static. I mean, this environment is perfectly primed for a psychological breakdown. The outside world is completely 100% cut off.
And this total isolation builds perfectly into our inciting incident. Right out of the fog, Aryan spots a figure on the side of the road. Now, on one hand, you have Aryan doing what literally any lost driver would do. He pulls over to ask for directions to a place called Similguda. But contrasting that totally normal behavior is the bizarre reality of what's sitting on the road. It's an old man sitting cross-legged, wild white hair blowing in the freezing wind, using a dry stick to draw these strange, chaotic lines in the dirt. At first, the guy stands up normally, but then he lets out this horrific, echoing laugh. This bizarre behavior instantly signals to us, and definitely to Aryan, that extreme danger is present. And wow, this brilliantly illustrates the horrific foreshadowing of the whole story. When Aryan tries again to ask for directions, the old man just drops this completely cryptic warning. Paths don't end here, child, only cycles begin. Turn back, there is still a line of time left. When Aryan basically tells him to stop speaking in riddles because he's running late, the old man replies that it was already too late the very second Aryan crossed the bridge. Terrified, Aryan rolls up his window and just speeds off. But when he checks his rearview mirror, the road is completely empty. The man has completely vanished.
Okay, this is the exact moment where linear time completely collapses. At 8 p.m., he meets the old man, right? Aryan drives straight for 20 minutes. No turns, no deviations whatsoever. But at 8:15 p.m., the fog parts and he sees the exact same curve, the exact same stones, and the exact same old man drawing lines in the dirt. A slow laugh literally echoes through the metal of the van. Total panic sets in. Aryan pushes that van to 80 kilometers per hour, desperate to physically outrun this supernatural trap, absolutely refusing to let his speed drop for the next 10 kilometers.
The thing is, you just can't outrun a chakwa. The haunting escalates from a spatial loop into a physical manifestation. Here's how it happens. Step 1. Aryan sees a red dupatta, a scarf, just lying in the middle of the road, and he drives right over it. Step 2. 5 minutes later, the exact same red dupatta appears in his headlights. Step 3. When it appears for a third time, he slams on the brakes. He actually gets out, picks it up, and makes a horrifying discovery. It doesn't feel like fabric at all. It feels exactly like cold human skin. So he throws it down in sheer terror, and suddenly a voice comes out of the bushes. "Aryan, son, where are you going so late? Come home, dinner is getting cold." It's his mother's voice. Now remember, his real mother is safely located in a city 200 kilometers away. Yet the entity that steps out of the bushes is wearing her exact blue sari, has her white hair. The psychological torture is totally weaponized here, because as it steps into the light, Aryan just screams. The entity has no eyes, just deep black holes dripping a thick dark fluid, and it's smiling this horribly wide smile. Aryan basically sprints back to the van, locks the doors, and frantically tries to call his best friend, Samir. Miraculously, the call connects. He's screaming into the phone that he's trapped, that he's seeing his mother on the road. But the voice that replies through the speaker completely shatters his last remaining illusion of safety. Samir's voice calmly says, "Calm down, brother. Just look back. I am sitting right behind you." Aryan, slowly shaking, checks the rearview mirror. The back seat is empty. But Samir's chilling laughter just continues to echo right out of his phone.
And then, the visual horror just peaks. The phone screen abruptly glitches and turns pitch black. And slowly bleeding across that dark screen, in this red, blood-like text, are the words, "Samai Samapt." Time is up. Desperate, Aryan throws the van into reverse. He figures, hey, if I go backwards, maybe I can break the loop, right? 5 minutes later, the headlights illuminate something standing dead center in the middle of the road. It isn't the old man. It is himself. Inside the van sits our living Aryan, sweating profusely, utterly terrified. But blocking his path is a literal doppelganger, wearing his exact same blue company t-shirt, his exact wristwatch, but moving awkwardly, almost like a broken puppet made of meat, and staring at him with cold, dead, stone-like eyes. Aryan just loses it, shifts gears, and floors the accelerator, expecting the illusion to vanish on impact. It doesn't. The van slams violently into the doppelganger. Blood splatters all across the windshield. He frantically flips on the wipers, but when the glass finally clears, the road is totally empty. No body, no marks on the road. But suddenly he hears this sickening scratching sound right above his head. An arm reaches down over the driver's side window. The doppelganger is hanging upside down from the roof, caressing the glass and whispering, "Where will you go, Aryan? Wherever you go, you will find me," before it violently smashes its own head against the window, cracking the glass. Aryan is wildly swerving the van now, trying to shake the creature off, but it's clinging on like a leech. And then he loses all control. It's like an invisible, massive hand grabs the steering wheel and violently forces it hard to the left. The van careens completely off the road, crashes through the heavy bushes, and plunges down a steep, rocky incline before finally slamming to a violent halt right in front of a decaying, ancient tree deep in the woods. The dust settles, and the headlights are shining directly onto the bark of this old tree. Nailed right to it is a faded, weather-beaten photograph. Aaron, moving like he's entirely hypnotized at this point, steps out of the wrecked van. He walks up to the tree, slowly wipes the thick dust off the photo, and his whole world just stops. It's a picture of himself, and the text below it reads, Aaron Sharma, born 1998, died 2025. A voice echoes from the darkness right behind him. A person dies when they accept their death, and you are still living in denial. Aryan slowly turns around. There's no one there, only his crashed van. And slumped dead over the steering wheel, completely covered in blood, is his own body. Aryan slowly places a hand on his chest. There's no heartbeat. The old man appears again, floating in the dark, explaining the grim reality. Aryan's pain isn't physical at all anymore. It is the pain of his soul's refusal to accept its own demise, forever trapped by the Chakwa.
Okay, let's pause and deconstruct this narrative to look at the true sequence of events. Because in a flash, Aryan suddenly remembers reality. That entire horrific drive we just spent all this time analyzing, it was an afterlife illusion. The reality was so much faster. He was driving in the thick fog, pulled over for a quick bathroom break by a tree, and picked up an odd old brass coin off the ground. When he got back on the road, the blinding high beam lights of an oncoming truck hit him, his van slipped on the wet asphalt, and he crashed fatally into a banyan tree.
Which brings us to the final, absolutely brilliant convergence of the physical and supernatural realms in this folklore. Let's look at the physical world. Ambulance lights are flashing. The police discover Aryan's real body crushed in the wreckage. A bewildered officer looks down and asks, "Sir, where did this old brass coin in his hand come from?" Meanwhile, in the spirit world, Aryan looks down at his own ghostly hand. He is holding the exact same coin. The Chakwa didn't just target him randomly. Picking up that coin was an invitation. Because he claimed it, his soul is now permanently bound to NH43, forever a part of the haunted road.
And that beautifully and honestly terrifyingly wraps up our breakdown of this folklore explainer today. The Chakwa uses our own mundane, everyday actions to ensnare us in its loop.
So it leaves us with one final, very important takeaway to think about. If you were driving completely alone at night, stepped out for just a moment to stretch your legs, and saw an old, strange brass coin lying in the dirt, would you pick it up? Think really carefully before you answer. Thanks for exploring this chilling story with me today, and as always, stay curious.